I just figured with so many new people, it would be interesting to show everybody kind of where ONTIME started and how it looked way back. So I actually have every single version of ONTIME since version 3. So I'm going to start with version 3 and show you guys what it was like. And I don't have anything in particular that I want to show. I'm just going to kind of go through each version and I'm going to point out some of the features that were added in that version. But I thought it might be interesting for everybody to kind of see that. There's probably only like 3 or 4 people in this room that are familiar with it, that whole history.
Do we have anyone who's been here since version 3?
So maybe, okay.
You and I think.
All right.
And
Lotta. Yeah. All right, so if at any point you have requests as to if you want to see anything in one of the versions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of go through my own list of things.
And to be fair, it was only Lotta and me and you during
Yeah.
version 3 and even version 4. It was just the 3 of us. Version 4, Sima may have been in the company as well.
Yeah, I think version 4 is when I started full time. All right, so as a point of reference, this is ONTIME today. So let's start with version 3. So now remember, this is 2003. Each version is the year that it came out. So
Do you mind if I interject on these? I feel like we used a spider for the logo for the web version of ONTIME. We actually had different like praying mantis and various different bugs that we used for different editions, like Windows. Windows was praying mantis, I think, or
no, I think Windows was the ladybug.
Okay, so
Praying mantis was.
customer portal or something like that.
So I try to look up the Wayback Machine, but it doesn't have any of the pictures.
But anyway, we got so much crap for using a spider because of people who have arachnophobia. So people would email us and be like, why do you use a spider? Like, I hate looking at the logo every single day. We got so much crap for that logo.
And you got to work in IE?
Yeah.
Okay.
IE, by the way, this is IE. IE 11. Just plugging it, that's all. All right, so basically back in 2003, we only had defects and features and not a whole lot more. As you notice, the whole menu is pretty much at the top. It was very simple. Projects didn't even have a hierarchy or a visual tree. It was, just a drop down. You select the project, and it filters by it. Filters are pretty much the way they are today. From day one, I think they were designed the way we had them in version 10. It was changed with version 14, but before that, they were pretty much the same since version 3. That's right. So yeah, that feature hasn't changed much over the course. No, I don't. I haven't installed those. We do have them, but I haven't. I figured web would be more interesting. Let's see. Adding a defect. That look, I think it was a single column in 2003, and at some point we changed it to 2-column. But there were no field templates at that point. Very limited field set. No custom fields at the time. Bug. Save and attach. All the details used to be on the view item. We didn't have, if you noticed on the grid, we didn't have the details visible. So if you wanted to see any of the details, you had to view the item. What else? List types, the three main ones are there since the beginning. Everything else was added later. Security was very simple, just a one-page list of things. You could have multiple security roles, but each user only had one role assigned to them. Let's see. Manage users. Pretty simple there. Yeah, just one role for the user. Let's see, John Doe. And notifications. Very simple notifications. We didn't have, the complicated system that we have today. It was just whenever you create, change, or delete something, notify pretty much everybody, or not everybody, but these two people, I guess. So you couldn't even have custom emails or anything. And that was about it. That's ONTIME 3 right there. I mean, not much to do. We did have default. Yeah, it's pretty snappy. We did have some default values, but it wasn't field template based, so come on. ONTIME 3, that's where it started. Well, that's where web started, right? Or was there web in 2?
There was web 2.0.
2.0. So I don't, ONTIME 2.0 was the web, okay. So I don't have, on our, all the installs going all the way back to actually version 1 are on our server. Version 1 is a Windows client, and I couldn't get it to create a database. And version 2 we don't have, and I don't know if you have it anywhere, but so 3 was the earliest that I found. All right, ONTIME 2004. New look, still spidery. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, yeah. So the project tree made its debut in 2004, as well as sample data. In 2003, we didn't have sample data. 2004, we started adding sample data.
Same sample data.
Yes. That's right. Same one.
Just random stuff that I came up with. Explains the typos. Yeah, exactly.
I think in 2004 we added audit trails, so that's why we have that main tab there. We added workflow in 2004. There was only one workflow, and you can have multiple steps. And the way it worked is you just moved each step to each item to the next step through the grid, which was interesting. Edit columns. Where's the workflow step? Still not sorted. That's right. And the sort order. I don't see the step. Do you see the step?
Yeah, it's from the bottom.
Oh, step. Yeah. Also, the edit, delete menu, that was 2003 style web design. We added custom fields 2004. I believe that hasn't changed since then. The UI pretty much stayed the same since then.
It's damn good. It's why.
That's right. Didn't need to change. I think we only had a limited, subset of types, but we did have pick lists since then, and that UI also hasn't changed much. Same thing. We introduced project level security in 2004. Up until that point, it was just global. So we started adding the projects on the right, and then continue increasing the list of security permissions. And you could also assign multiple security roles to a user at this point. So you can select multiple roles. What else did we add? I think that was mostly it. It was mostly a new style that we did in 2004. Workflow was pretty big, I think, but other than that, I think we had grouping in 2003. No, we didn't. Grouping, 2004. That's right. One interesting point to make here. In 2004, we actually had an option to not highlight your data rows when you hover over them. And I don't remember why we did that. It highlights the text, but not the row. Very interesting option. Yeah. You'll notice those little options like adding up and that list getting bigger as we go. I think system options was also non-existent at the time. There were no system options. I think we added, in 2004, we added the fields for the email notifications, but there were still simple notifications there. That's about it for 2004. 2005. So 2005 didn't change much in terms of UI. I think we changed the header finally. No spider. I have no idea. Marbles. Yeah. I don't know. I think it actually, there's a collision between each one. If I go back to the other one, I'm logged out there. So I think something happens. All right, 2005, we introduced tasks, which was a big deal. And at the time, tasks were just simple items. They had very limited fields, and they were supposed to be basically, you check them off. When you're done, you just say check off. And by default, completed items were not shown on the list. So as soon as you were done with it, it would just go away. That was the original intent. And we also had this nice quick add for tasks. And then it was just added. And then category types, which is currently still in the system. At the time, they were added specifically for tasks, and they were user-based. So each user would have their own categories. And you could type in whatever category you want. And it would save it right from there. And then next time it would be on your list. Or not. Oh, wait, it didn't add that item, did it? There we go. Or not. I'm sure it's still in the system somewhere. We introduced MultiEdit in 2005. Oh, that was the one-click view. I think we had an option for that, one-click or double-click. The selection was done through the bubbles. Very fancy, 2005. Multi-edit, it was just certain fields that you could multi-edit, and it was just right there. We introduced field templates, which I believe haven't changed a whole lot since then. There was no drag and drop, so everything was very fancy moving down. That was nice. Yeah. When you have custom fields. And there was only one field template. There weren't multiple field templates at the time. Let's see. Project level notifications were introduced at that point. So you would just create the notifications right here for each project. It was basically the simplified version, but it was no longer global. It was now at the project level. And archiving was introduced in 2005, which also hasn't changed since. I don't know if this UI hasn't changed yet, right? That's on the list, I think. So, well, it's not. It's the layout is similar, but the UI, like the elements, have changed. We use new components and all that. So it's not really the same exact code. But it looks very. Yeah. Yeah. Basically. Yeah.
Some cases were time, purposes.
All right. That's about it with 2005. 2006. I think 2006 was a pretty big release based on the number of things we added.
So we went to Ladybug over here with the number 6 on it. And then some people complained that it's very devilish because you can't win.
All right, so 2006, the style didn't change a whole lot, but we did introduce a few big features. Work logs were introduced in 2006. Also notice we still didn't have details, so I believe you had to view the item and then see all the details here. And that's where you would add work logs and notifications and everything. That was fun. This actually went from, I think, like 2 things to like 4 things, and then eventually to like, I think in 2007 we changed it. Because it got to the point where this was just way too much on that page. Yeah. Things that we did, we introduced project level field templates and workflows at this point. So we finally, and also some people may be familiar with this type of UI, kind of been around for a while. But both workflow and field templates were now project level. And we also introduced multiple workflows. Up until this point, we only had one workflow. And then also introduced the workflow step actions. Where is it? This UI was also around for a while. Step actions, yay. And then also the security. So I think up until this point, we didn't do any tabbed UI or anything. Everything was kind of laid out all on one page. Yeah. Big one, project dashboard was introduced here. Where is it? The original project dashboard. It was just basically a bunch of summaries for whatever project you selected at the top. I think that was new and fancy, using charts, 3D charts and everything. I don't think, none of them were customizable at that point. They were just, I think, items by status, yeah. That was about it. And by user up here. Project dashboard, related items was also introduced in 2006. Also stuff that hasn't changed in a while. Reports. Manage reports, I think, was introduced in 2006, but we had it in 2005. But you couldn't do anything on the web at that point with manage. Oh, no. This was the first time we added this UI, where you could actually create the shortcuts. I think in 2005, it was, I know reports were here, weren't they? Yeah, they were here, but you couldn't do anything with them through the web. Yeah. We introduced the portal. I don't have the portal installed, but portal made its debut in 2006. That was a big feature, as well as the managed customers and all that. And also the UI for this was interesting because the contacts would only show up on the customer UI. You couldn't see the contacts on the main UI, only the customers. Oh, and my favorite feature, where is it? User options. You could change your style. That's right. You can make it black. That's right. Wait for it. Wait for it. That's right. That was nice. It matches the ladybug and the logo. A couple other small things, but yeah, that's about it. Okay, all right, so 2007 changed. That was a big change in terms of the UI. We redid the whole UI, and I think it took us quite a while to redo it. Why are you not logging in? Wait, what's going on here? That's too. Oh.
We had this.
Oh yeah.
The left group.
There it is.
Yeah, it had to be a minimum size.
Yeah.
for it to show up correctly.
So yeah, this was a major redesign in terms of the UI. We introduced the tabbed project customer users, the mini dashboard, and then the details that are still there today. We introduced incidents in 2007. And we also had this cool feature on the startup wizard, which it would come up the first time you ran ONTIME, but we had it in the menu so you could go through it and basically select which item types you wanted to use, what you wanted to name them, and whether you wanted to use work logs or not. And that was kind of the first thing you would see. The startup wizard was to get people, started with ONTIME and customizing it. Bigger things. Oh, the user dashboard was another big one that we added. This is the original kind of all items tab. This is the only place you would see all items on one grid. And this was a big feature for customers. This is when they all wanted to see all items on one tab. So we had to introduce it as a tab. The what?
Oh, it was introduced as a
separate page, yeah, and it had the charts at the bottom and all that. Other than that, mail accounts were introduced in 2007, and views were also introduced in 2007. But the UI was the biggest thing that I think took us like 6 months to redo, maybe even longer. 2008. So from this point on, there wasn't a whole lot in terms of UI changes. There's the startup wizard again. And then we put the sample data here on the wizard. And we introduced the dynamic width at that point. Up until this point, it was always fixed width. So now you could have dynamic UI. Oh, and the management console. So this was supposed to be kind of like a control panel for ONTIME where you could, or administrators could go and easily find stuff to customize and manage, which looks really cool, but I don't know if a lot of people used it. So I think we kind of got away from that.
I think the problem with it was that doing those things yet. And
Right.
that's why we ended up
Getting rid of it, yeah. But other than that, 2008 introduced Wiki. That was the big feature, and not much else. Oh, and custom fields for projects and customers was introduced here as well, with the nice layout form, which is still there today. 2009, I'll make it quick. 2009 introduced the Scrum terminology. So we added this thing to the startup wizard where you would pick if you wanted to use the standard terminology or Scrum terminology, so that all the labels in ONTIME were geared towards Scrum. And that's kind of, I think with this version is when we started really focusing on Scrum stuff. Trying to see if there's anything interesting. 2009 introduced releases. Nice. What happened there? Yeah, I think so. Releases, we added releases with the whole Scrum thing.
browser there too? It's just the wiki.
Oh, this is the wiki. It's an iframe of some sort. The other big thing that we did here was the project dashboard was redone from the static dashboard that we had before to this more dynamic dashboard, similar in idea to the dashboard we have today, where you could basically drag gadgets around and create new gadgets, and then customize them. And we added comments, and that's about it in 2009. And one last thing I want to show is 2010 had a, oh crap. Introduced the planning board. Anybody seen the planning board? Yeah. What's going on? I think that was one of the only big features in 2010, web at least. Nope. Come on. Stupid window size. So we had like the simplified kind of method terminology, yeah. Yeah, planning board I think was the only thing. We also added the global settings locator, if anybody's familiar with that. That was in 2010. But other than that, not a whole lot of big changes that I could see or remember. Planning board, right there. Incidents was in 2007, I think. So the planning board was our first Scrum board. Pretty similar to what we have today. I think the one today, the card view, was pretty much went off of this idea. But at the time, it was like its own separate UI. You could group by anything, and then you could also have workflow columns.
When we did this planning board, if memory serves me right, nobody else had anything like this.
No, yeah. So we had like the collapsible columns. You could expand or collapse your workflow steps that you weren't working with, and still move stuff around. That's about it. I can show you the global settings locator. That was a feature we kind of introduced with the idea in mind that administrators had a hard time finding where certain things were used, like field templates, workflows. When you look at that UI, you don't know what projects is using all that. So we introduced this UI, which was supposed to make it easier, but it becomes a big mess. That's about it. That's all I had. And I just kind of wanted to give you guys an overview on all that.